Hi guys, it's early October. Time for an update video. I know it's been a long time. You guys have missed me, not really. So I thought I'd cover as concisely as possible what's been going on between the last time I released for Alpha 20.7 to today. First thing you'll notice is the main menu images will cycle every 20 seconds or so, and I think I've added 50 plus background images just to give a bit more variety. And there are 3 new tracks for the background music if that's something that you turn on. So first thing we'll do is maybe look at the options here. So I've made this a scroller. There are a lot more options. So maybe what we can do is go through some of these. The first one will be where you spawn whenever you start a new game. So by default, you'll spawn right next to a trader in the forest, and you can pick the biome. You can pick a random one, or you can use the map spawn points, which is this option. But yeah, by default, you'll spawn in the forest, making sure that everyone has the same spawn point. If you were to, let's say, do a multiplayer, peer-to-peer on a server, everyone will have a single spawn point. Everyone will start in the forest. There's no worries about spawning in the wasteland or anything like that. The trader protection can be enabled, disabled. Tornadoes. So whenever you spawn in, you will face some tornadoes, something that you would have seen if you looked at Tim Recky's final episodes of the series. And there is a chance that they would spawn on Horde Night if you turn that on. This will set the number of jobs that are available to you. And I think, these options, some of these options were in a configuration file before. Turning on the crosshair HUDs. So this is where you'll see your stamina if it goes beyond a certain threshold. The class multiplier, the genetics multiplier separately in case you want to adjust those. The aura sharing will be whenever you have one of your class auras. If you want to always share across the entire map, the party range is the option that's linked to the sharing of kill XP within a party, and then no aura sharing is the last option. Vehicles can respawn. You can set the number of days, auto replanting trees, locking. So there's just a whole bunch of options that you can now tweak. And this is one of the latest, making sure that you can disable demos if you don't like having those. And there's also the wandering horde size. So that kind of covers this portion. And now we'll head into the game. Alright guys, so we're into the game. Just to see you, if you had turned on tornadoes, best thing to do, because they'll keep knocking you down, just stay clear of them, because they'll kind of ruin the environment. And if you're close to a trader, and if that trader was, I think it's Joel, then obviously if you turned fire on, which is what's happening here, then you would set their base on fire. We're gonna kill everyone here just so we have a little bit of peace. And what you'll notice is that you spawn in with a random dog. So I have Spike here. The other thing to notice is down below near the toolbar, I've essentially removed SMX, and I've done my own little thing, subject to change, but for now this is what it looks like. I tried to make the HUD as clean as possible. At the top next to the I don't think you can see, no, you can't see it there, but next to the compass you'll have the player level, and underneath the loot stage, and that's kind of it. You see the bars at the bottom. It's easy to recognize: health, stamina, water, and foods. So that's essentially what you will do when you start, is have to kill a few zombies, and then the trader, as I mentioned, you get to spawn in the forest right next to the trader. And instead, so this is one big change. Instead of you having your traders at your base, which if you're playing with a lot of players can become a little much, the traders are now placed within the vanilla compounds. So we've got Greta here, which we can't talk to until we kill enough fire zombies. See who else we have around here. Depends on the POI, obviously. Briston will always be next to the player vending machines. And he has a new trade ammo function, which we can go over a little bit later. And let's see, who else do we have in here? We've got a trainer here. This will be the trainer, and I believe that because it's Bob, yes. So we've got Billy Bob here, which will require you to kill some explosion immune. Lorenzo. Anyway, they're all placed within the compound. You just have to find them, and that kind of covers the opening. And now we'll take a look at the change in learn by doing. So when you take a look at your skills, you'll see that I'm reusing the crafting skills tab that was introduced by the Fun Pimps, but I've changed it quite a bit. So this will be the tab that will let you craft the various items that are here. These are the categories, starting with the pipe weapons and then going down each class. And so before, people would ask, well, what ranged weapons are part of, let's say, pistols? Well, you can go into pistols and you'll see each weapon here. And then it goes down into mining tools, digging, etc. So the first thing that you need to do here in the new Rebirth, unlike the previous one where you're given a class book that you can pick from the start, is you actually have to work towards your class. So the first thing to do will be to craft yourself one of the base weapons associated with the class that you want to spec in. So let's say I want to do Hunter. So I'm going to have to make myself a stone spear and use it so that I get far enough. So as I use it, it'll unlock the next quality of the stone spear. So unlike the previous Rebirth, you actually have quality weapons now. It's no longer completely random in terms of stats. And you'll have a progression here to tell you how much more killing you have to do to get to unlock one of the book fragments. So there, if you look at a class, it has a melee weapon and it has a specialized ranged weapon. So in this case, the spear is the melee one, unlocks the book fragments for the hunter, and then the associated long-range rifles here would be the pipe rifle. So you'd have to make yourself a pipe rifle to progress and unlock the second book fragment. And once you have this book fragment, it will unlock your class. Now, you kind of may be wondering what happens if I haven't reached my iron spear and my hunting rifle yet. Well, as soon as you read the class, it'll unlock the first level of those. Same concept with mining tools. As long as you use the stone axe, it'll progress through the various quality levels and unlock the different crafting tiers for the next tier of weapons. Digging, same thing. You dig, you chop, you salvage, and the armor is a little bit different. Armor, as you can see here, it unlocks as your constitution goes up. So if you start, let's say we had killed a couple zombies and I go and turn, I'm not going to do that here, but I turn into Wrecked, then he will give me the same backpack you used to have, which gives you a booster of your choice. Is it of your choice? No, it'll be of the type of pack you chose, so Constitution. So if I had chosen Constitution, what would happen is it'll give me a boost in Constitution and the tier 1 padded armor would unlock. So it really has bearing on what you could unlock depending on what you choose as a backpack. So let's say Constitution will unlock this. If you were to pick Charisma, then it would unlock the charismatic nature for you to hire Survivor. So that kind of explains the learn by doing. It's hard to really gauge how it'll work. You have to try it. And I guess with that, we'll go on to the next topic. We talked about the trade ammo option here with Briston. So trade ammo is useful whenever you want to have some of one type of ammo. So I have a pipe rifle. I would like to get some 7.62. So it'll tell me what I have in terms of the ammo in my inventory. So if I check my inventory, I've got some 9mm, some shotgun shells, and some 44, which is completely useless to me. So what I want to return is some 7.62. So it'll show me what I have here. If you do not want to trade some of what you have, then there are two options. You can say lock it in your slots. You can put it in your tool belt, and what will show up here is that I only really have shells to trade. So right now, it's not a one-to-one. It actually looks at the materials required to make each type of ammo and will give you about a 50% exchange rate, which you can increase with your bartering skill. So if I was to trade in my shells right now for 7.62, it'll give me 3 of those. So as you can see, I got 3 of those, and that's a great way for you to dispense of the ammo you don't want and get the ammo that you do. Now let's cover quests, but before I do, I want to show what happens when you first talk to the trader, which I should have covered way earlier. So you get the option of getting one of the packs as per usual. And then I'm still working on the starter quests, so let's not worry too much about this part. But when you open that, all you get is the injection, the sunglasses, and you're set to go. The other thing you might have noticed is that I've unlocked the number of backpack slots that are available to you. Like it's a much greater number. I think it would have stopped here before. And I've made these a lot bigger. The interface is a little bit cleaner. You get a lot more slots. This is scrollable now. So hopefully that helps you guys. So in terms of quests, let's cancel these. The one bug that was kind of annoying in the previous version is you would go to your jobs, and I've limited my number of jobs here, so you can definitely have more. You can do that through the menu options. But whenever you pick this fetch quest, as soon as you pick more than one, it would kind of bug because you would finish one, go to the second, and then it would autocomplete, or there would be some issues there. So the way I fix that is that now when you talk to the traders, you will see that the list here of available quests changes. So we've got Bose Market, we've got a couple of buried supplies here. If we were to talk to him again, you see the buried supplies are gone. We still have Bose Market because it's probably one of the closest. So every time you talk to the trader, this list gets refreshed with new options. And the reason why I do that is because if you were to pick a fetch quest and you accept that, and you talk to them again, what I do is I look at the quest you have and I don't give you any more fetches. So you can take as many clears as you want, any buried supplies, the restore power, doesn't matter. But any type of fetch quest you have is now limited to 1. So you have to complete it before you come back and get some more. So I said earlier on, I took the example of the hunter. So let's assume we got our book fragments, we got our class book, and we read that. We are now a hunter. So just to give you a little bit of background, a lot of the time I spent with this overhaul is reworking the codes. A lot of this was done originally with XML, and the performance was really an issue, mostly in multiplayer. So I spent at least a month and a half, I believe, reworking the XML into codes, and it'll have an effect on the UI in that it's a lot more responsive. There were some minor issues. Sometimes some percentages weren't getting up to the total 100%, or levels wouldn't show unless you hit something else. So that's all fixed. And the other thing that's changed is that, yes, I am a hunter. And before, if you wanted to multi-class, you had to go to hunter level 10, which, takes a while. And a lot of people used to want to reset their classes because they started with something, didn't like it. So in this version of Rebirth, it's a little bit different in that you cannot multi-class, but you can switch from one class to the next by simply reading a book, and it'll keep the other progress. So if I was to, let's say, we'll grab another hunter book. We will grab some XP in a hunter. Let's read hunter again. Right, so we've got some hunter XP, we've got some experience in spears and long-range rifles, and I chose chef. So let's go there again. So if I look in my skills at hunter, I still have the same progression. So it doesn't stop you from keeping the previous stats, and you can switch from one class to the next. Sometimes it could be beneficial for you depending on the type of work you want to do. This applies to the Berserker as well, right? So you could play Berserker for a certain POI if that's what you want to do. Clear that out, go back to being a hunter, and your stats will be preserved. The other thing with the Berserker is that, unlike the A20 version, see, I was able to shoot, but it's limited to pipe weapons and the bow. So the Berserker does have some range capabilities, which sometimes is kind of required, but it's very, very limited in terms of what they can use. So let's talk about the changes to genetics and some of the other things, maybe within the classes. The first thing you'll notice is there's no run and gun, so that's been removed. It's reload speeds. I don't use penalties on reloads, so that was unnecessary. And I've added physician, which is the same as vanilla, but at higher stages will give additional damage depending on the weapon type. And let's see, other than that, the hunter got this rain of arrows skill, which requires you to have a bow and use some iron arrows. The reason why iron arrows is because I needed some kind of a balance, not make it too strong. Steel would be a little too much. It does damage to a single target and then anything around it. So we can test this out. I've maxed my hunter and the bows, and we can see, because the bow has a really fast reload speed at high levels for the hunter, we'll see, I mean, these guys are all full health. It's fairly, it's 25 soldiers, so normally it would take a lot of iron arrows to get rid of these, and let's see how fast we can deal with these. There's approximately a 60% chance trigger rate at high levels. I mean, at this point, yeah, each of these will just die with a single arrow, so it's fine. So that's the rain of arrows skill for the hunter. And yeah, it's pretty strong. So if you manage to get up to the highest level, I think you'll have some fun. The only other thing to make sure you consider is that the target has to be out in the open. If you do this within a POI, chances are it won't trigger. So just something to remember. Let's talk about the weapons and leveling across classes. So in Rebirth 20 Alpha 20, you essentially could only level the weapons expertise for the class that you had learned. So in this one, it doesn't really matter. So if I was to use, so right now, if I look at, let's say, the sous chef, look at the sous chef, knives has 0. So if I was to kill Bo, so the reason why I do headshots is because, again, the headshots will provide more XP, but even more in this version, you get a lot more XP when you kill with a headshot. So it's something to remember. And I'm talking about not the XP for the weapon itself, but for the crafting part. So if I was to look at the sous chef here in knives, see, I went up to about 2% by using that. And I'm not, see, I'm classed as a hunter, but it's still going up. So what this means, and along with if I was to look at the sous chef here, knives, the crafting skill to get me to the next level is already at 3.9%. So I can essentially use any weapon in the game, any tool, any weapon, and it will level from a crafting perspective and from an expertise perspective, so that you could be a hunter and you decide that you want to use your knife more. Eventually, by using the knife, you will get to unlock the skill. So let's go back to the sous chef skill to open up the book fragment. Same thing with the pipe weapon if you were to use different weapons. And when I say pipe weapon, it doesn't really matter if you all of a sudden find a desert vulture. Well, it'll contribute to the leveling of this and getting you to the book for the sous chef. So the good thing with this is that you can wield any weapon. So you could have a hunter with an M60 and the M60 will go up. And the reason why I do this is because of this crafting here. If we went to the soldier, right now you can't craft anything. But as you go up and you unlock the soldier, you'd be able to craft higher and higher quality M60s, which means that you deal more damage. And it doesn't matter if you are a spec-in soldier or not. It will unlock, or sorry, progress your soldier is, let's see, I've rearranged them. This guy. It'll up your machine gun skill, and eventually you'll be able to switch to the soldier if you wanted to switch from one class to the next. The only difference is that if you are not using the active class, so let's say the soldier class, any of the bonuses here you won't get unless you have that class active. So you'll be able to craft better machine guns, but unless you're using this as your active class, you won't benefit from the bonuses. You'll have better M60s, which deals more damage, but you won't have the full benefit of not using the class. I spawned in another 25 soldiers. Pretty handy. And now let's look at some of the changes to the classes in general. So the Berserker no longer has Weaponsmith because everything now is leveled through the crafting skill. All of the abilities that were tied to armor have been removed as well. The I'll get into this, the aura stuff now. The Madman's ranged explosion has been changed. I'll show you in a little bit. Let's see, sous chef has 1,000 cuts now. It's similar to the rain of arrows, but it has a little bit more damage, and I think that's it in terms of those auras. But in terms of the global achievement auras, there is a change in that before you had to reach class level 6. Now it'll be player level 40. You no longer need to read one of those class aura books. All you need is the mod within an armor piece. And you're no longer limited to only 2. So as many as you can fit into your gear, you can unlock all those if you want. The other change in these auras as well, I think you saw in the main menu, is that it will be shared based on the range that you set. And I think that's kind of it. And with that, what I'll do is I will show the sous chef aura and then the Madman aura. So let's have a look at the sous chef aura mod, which was this 1,000 cuts. So we'll equip that. It now shows on the left side. So that's another thing you might have noticed, is the buffs used to be right above the tool belt. We've moved them back to the left. It's a little cleaner. You can fit a lot more of those. And I've gotten back to the sous chef. I've maxed the sous chef to make sure that we have the highest trigger rate possible. Obviously, the trigger rates I'm going to showcase are way over what the game will give you, but it's just to show the actual effects. So see, that one went from 362 down to 38 with a single blow. So I'll try targeting another. There. So it does a lot of damage. See, a lot of these guys are already affected. Let's try and see if we can kill some more. Yeah. So it's quite strong. It's fun, has a nice effect. And I think we'll do the Madman next. So we'll be looking at the Madman's ranged explosive explosion, or I can't remember what I named it. It's active because I've switched to the Madman. I've leveled the Madman up to level 10. And unlike in A20 where the aura was only really knocking them down, there was an explosion sound and nothing special, wasn't really explosions. This is actually explosions. So we'll see. I've used some bows because they're not as resistant as the soldiers, to see what this looks like. Yeah. So it's like the it's like the other explosives. It does quite a bit of damage. And yeah, I don't know if it'll trigger for anyone else because they're so low life. We'll see. Yeah. So it's fun, but you have to be careful, because if I was to do this, so let's say I've got fire on, and let's put some bows here. Well, if I can actually hit these guys. Oh, well, I thought it would actually catch fire, but it looks like it doesn't, which is actually a good thing, because fire right now is on. And let me just check that it's actually on. Let's do a Molotov throw. So if that's the case, it's good. In an update video, I realized that it doesn't do any damage to surrounding buildings in terms of fire, which is great. So this is a fun one. I think it's one of my favorites. When you're in a POI, it can get a little loud, but it's nice to see limbs blowing up and going everywhere. So now I wanted to talk about vehicles, but before I do that, I just want to let you know that I've changed how entities spawn within the POIs, so you can have a little surprise like I just did here. There's a demo inside. So you never know, it doesn't matter what tier it is, you can expect to see some strange stuff. Now, vehicles. We took a look. I've had some help with from Day Uppy, and we've changed how we repair vehicles because we do use Vehicle Madness, and Vehicle Madness in A21 doesn't let you find an already working vehicle, and the way you repair a vehicle is through making a repair kit and then kind of pointing it to a vehicle, and then it spawns in a vehicle. We've changed a little bit of that. So one of the things you may want to do early game, I'm going to try this in a dumpster. There's a chance for you, yeah. So there's a chance for you to get bicycle parts early. So search dumpsters if you are in the city. Otherwise, there are some wheels that you can find. I don't think we'll find some in here, but there are wheels that you can find if you were to roam around. I don't know if I can find any right here. And then whenever you find a repairable vehicle like this guy is repairable. So you can loot it as per any other vehicle. But if you hold E and you look at repair, you'll see that it has some stats here. And it also has some parts that you have to find and put in order for you to repair this. So you can find these parts by salvaging vehicles in general. You'll find some wheels on the ground. So just to give you an example of the wheels, let's get is it these? I forget which ones they are. Try different ones. Yeah, there we go. So they're these. So this is an example of a motorcycle wheel that you can hold E, pick up, and then you will get motorcycle wheel. So the way the code works in terms of what you pick up is the higher the loot stage. So, you know, depending on the biome, etc., the higher chance you have of picking up a higher quality part. And the reason why that matters, and it's not fully done yet, but they will have an impact on and this is a car wheel that I need. So let's get some parts here. They will have an impact on the vehicle itself. So let's get some car wheels. We need 4 of those. We're gonna need a whole bunch of parts. Let's see. Let's do part instead. So for this, we'll need a V6 engine, some spark plugs, vehicle starter, fuel pump, alternator, carburetor, transmission. We'll need a car radiator. We will need some headlights. Let's get a couple of these and a battery. There we go. So let's put these in. We've got the headlights, we've got the battery, spark plugs, the V6. This is motorcycle, so let's put the car wheels. You can see the stats are changing here in terms of durability as I put some of these in. The higher quality the parts, the higher the total vehicle durability. The hot wire kit you can find in the player vending machine, so it's easily accessed. So all you have to do here is hot wire, and there you go. You got your working vehicle. Now the difference between the previous working vehicles and this one is that the parts carry over. So if I was to see, I've got some gas in there, I can use it, not a problem. If I was to take out, let's say, the engine, doesn't work anymore. So there's that interaction. Still working on the mechanics of making it go faster, etc. If you take a headlight out, you can still drive it. It's fine because it's not required for the actual vehicle. But if I was to take, let's say, heads. If I was to take some lower level, let's try and get some higher level. So a couple of these. And I want to get a quality 1 if I can show. There we go. A couple of these. So if I was to take out the 3s here, put out the 1s, and we will go to midnight on day 2. And I get in here and I turn on the lights. You can see there's not much there because it's a low quality headlight. And what happens if I was to switch those out with the higher ones? See, much better. So depending on the quality of the lights, the actual intensity of the light will be affected, and the durability as well. So if I was to look at the durability here, as this goes down, the light will get dimmer as well. So you'll need to keep these parts repaired over time. And as I said, this is still a work in progress. So the intent is higher quality engine and other parts will have an impact on, let's say, the fuel pump will be the capacity of the gas, and maybe the fuel saving. The engine will be the top speed. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we need to figure out, but that's the intent. It's nice to have maybe some sort of a little mini game. I've also added some oil, not tied in yet, but there's definitely more to come on that. So this topic, some of you are already familiar with because it's been covered in videos since I released the last version of Alpha 20.7's Rebirth. And it's the Autoloot mod for whenever you kill a zombie. So I've tracked the recipe on the right. We're just going to craft one of those. It's fairly easy to craft. And they get inserted into a piece of clothing. So let's do that. And wear this. Before we wear this. So I've got Jackson here. Let's see. No, I won't change any of that. Maybe I will.
Hunting.
No, I won't put you in hunting.
Halt.
I'll ask you to halt. So if I was to, let's say, kill a bow right now. So I've got a bow here. Oh, sorry, Bo. So I kill Bo, but he was killed by an explosion, so that doesn't give me anything. Let's actually not use the aura for now. Alright, so he dies, and you've got a corpse, and you can loot the corpse and get whatever's in there. So you guys are familiar with that. The difference when you have the Autoloot mod, is that if I was to spawn him again and kill him, then I don't have to search his body. Everything's automatically looted. You see at the right, there's some loot that came in, and instead of having loot, let's say if I was to get rid of all this stuff, just to show you, because you can't really see it. We're done with this. All right, let's try this again. So we've got this guy we're gonna kill. And it doesn't matter what the distance is, it can go really far. So I have nothing in my inventory. And the reason I have nothing is because of Jackson. Jackson has whatever I picked up in his inventory. And what it does is it will automatically scrap whatever is normal clothing so that you don't have to spend time scrapping things manually. If it's something like a college jacket or some ammo or some high performance running shoes or anything special, it would actually keep it. It won't scrap it for you, so that you can decide if you want to wear it or sell it. So by default, your inventory will not get filled in by the Autoloot mods. It will go directly to the survivors so that you have a little bit more breathing room. And the other thing to notice about the survivor inventory is that if we go in it, I now have, if I was to grab everything, the ability to shift click. And I also have the ability to, was it this one? Yeah, I can use these buttons now. So it's just much easier to manage the inventory. Yeah. So this Autoloot mod, like I said, some of you are probably familiar with it. It's nice if you were to have a drone. I think it goes to the survivors first, and then it goes to the drone, and then it goes to you. And yeah, enjoy. I think it's one of the best features of the mod right now. So the next thing to cover might be the Autoloot Gathering containers. So this is probably not the best spot to put it down because it's in an angle. But what this does, again, I have a video on this, so it might be familiar to some, not to others, is that doesn't matter if it's Horde Night. We'll test this during Horde Night, so it's pretty massive. Come on, guy. Let's kill everything in sight. And if there is a loot bag in the vicinity and it's been turned on, so you got the activate here. So let's activate that. Let's actually go to Horde Nights. So you see the Horde Night counter has been moved right under the compass. You don't know what time it is during Horde Nights. You have to kind of gauge or hope that it's going to finish soon. Now, what I will do, because we've got a whole bunch of these, maybe I'll put a few seekers so that we get some automatic loot bags. So I'll kill these guys. These guys have dropped some loot, and automatically this has gone and picked it up, and there we go. So you don't have to worry about loot bags despawning. You don't have to worry about going getting them. Just make sure that this is safe, and I think the range is about 50 meters, so it's quite high. And then once you're done with this, just deactivate it and make sure you share with your friends. So I think that'll be it for this update. Thanks for watching if you're still here. Also, a big thanks to the patrons who have helped me test this. They've done a fantastic job, and we have been able to tweak the performance. So right now we've got a test server up that gets refreshed fairly regularly, and we pretty much never really have to restart the server. Performance is really, really good, and that's with an average of maybe 3 to 4 players, and sometimes up to 6. So a big thanks to them. Also, again, thanks to Deapi for lending me his brain and his fingers. And I know you guys are waiting. It's there's a lot to do still in terms of bugs and features, and hopefully it won't be too long. I know I haven't covered things like the Techno Geek, but that's because there are some things that need to be adjusted, like the automatic turrets and the shockwave skill and the grenades. So I'll probably show that in the next update. Until then, take care and see you soon.